Okay, so welcome, Richiko, to Escape the Rat Race Radio. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Chris. How are you?
I'm really, really well, thank you. It's great to have you on. I am so excited to hear your story. It truly has been one of escaping the rat race within 12 months. And why don't we begin by you just introducing yourself to everyone listening, letting them know what business that you're currently in and what specifically that involves on a day-to-day basis.
So I run a e-commerce business at the moment. I sell products on Amazon through the FBA program. FBA stands for Fulfilled by Amazon, for those people who don't know what it means. On a day-to-day basis, it sort of involves monitoring sales, inventory levels, checking if there's any messages from customers or any reviews from customers, communicating with suppliers, logistics partners about shipments, etc. So they're sort of the day-to-day tasks. It doesn't take up a lot of time at the moment. Also doing some research to expand the number of products that I'm selling at the moment, and I'm doing some advertising as well. So yeah.
Well, that's great. And it was just actually a couple of episodes ago, we had Ezra Firestone, who was he's a very successful e-commerce retailer, and he was talking about just, the massive potential there is there with e-commerce. So right, let's get stuck into part one, Richiko, which is where you were. Okay, so can you tell our listeners where you used to work and what you used to do?
Yeah, sure. I previously worked in the airline industry. I did that for 12 years, which is quite a long time. I did actually enjoy my job and what I was doing. I've worked in different locations for the airline in Amsterdam, Sydney, and previously in London as well. Mainly office-based, so I wasn't flying, but had different roles in sales, marketing, customer service, etc. So yeah, long career of 12 years with the airline. And I wasn't hating it, but I felt that there was more things that I could do.
Yeah, not too different from my story. 16 years in the music industry, lots of fun, but it gets to a point where you just think, hey, I'm ready for a change. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And can you describe then exactly at what point you started to realize for yourself, Richiko, that you didn't want to continue working for someone else any longer? And what were some of those first steps that you took to bring about that change?
The idea of having my own business sort of started about 3 years ago when I started to think about what it would be like to have my own business. I think with the job, I always felt that there was more things that I could do. After the initial excitement of new challenges sort of went away, I felt that I could do more. So sort of floated the idea around for a couple of years, but I didn't really know what to do or how to get started with my own business. I think the real turning point for me came in 2017 when the airline went through a global restructure, I was suddenly faced with harsh realities of the corporate world. My position wasn't affected as such for me, fortunately, but I witnessed a lot of colleagues. They lost their jobs, saw the impact that it had on them personally, emotionally, obviously. So the whole experience was quite devastating, and it really made me think about job security, or basically lack thereof. Having companies seeing them go through such a big restructure. So that was really the moment when I realized, okay, I do really need to get going with something for myself. And while I was sort of playing around with the idea, that's when I started to get serious and did lots of reading, research, started to formulate some ideas in my head what I could do. Started to read some books, and then just through internet research, I stumbled upon Amazon FBA program. I didn't know what it was, but I did more reading about it, wanted to know how it worked. And that's sort of how I got onto you, Chris. I went to one of your events that had Michael on there. He was presenting about the Amazon FBA program. So I came along and just learned lots about how that worked. And that's where the idea for the business really took shape.
I remember the day well. Yeah, we were in London. We had a small group, and as you say, Michael Veazey, who's been a guest on Escape the Rat Race Radio back on episode 41. He's the host of Amazing FBA podcast and Amazing FBA company. So I'll link to Michael's podcast as well. But yeah, that was great, and that really kind of kickstarted, I guess, that FBA journey for you. And then at that point, you're obviously still working. So then what were some of the decisions and the processes that followed after that, which you kind of, you had to work out in your head as to when was going to be the right time to actually make that break away from your job?
So the decision sort of came when time became an issue. So I started working with Michael. I sort of started to just set up the business slowly from the beginning, bit by bit, putting it all together whilst still doing my full-time day job. And sort of, time to spend and dedicate on the business then at some point became a real issue. Started to go to sort of networking events and really working on the mindset as well, changing my mindset from being an employee to being an entrepreneur and changing the business. So there was a lot going on for me at the time. And at some point, I felt that the job was getting in the way of me developing further, growing further as an entrepreneur and spending more time on the business. So it started to generate a good return by then, and that's why I decided that I'm just going to have to take the plunge. The timing sort of worked well because my job at the time sort of came to an end and the company was offering me a new position. So it gave me some time to think about the new position. Is this really what I want? Is this the direction that I want to head to? And the answer was actually, you know what, this is the right time. I think it's coming at the right moment for me to say goodbye and sack the boss and head forward, sort of plunge in head first full into the business. So
yes. Wow. I mean, give us some timeframes on that, Richiko. So when was that first event? It was pretty much around this time last year, wasn't it? Back in 2018. Yeah. Yeah.
It was about a year ago.
Yeah. So we're talking kind of like roughly May 2018, when you sat down, first kind of eyes open to FBA and what it's all about. Then you took some proper education. You learned exactly how to do it from someone who's already experienced and already been doing that successfully and working with other people. And then what was your Escape the Rat Race date? What was that memorable date when you actually waved goodbye?
The date was the 28th of March of this year. Yeah. It was quite a scary moment. I didn't think it would be such a big change, but I remember the morning that I came into the office and I knew that it was going to be my last day at work. I thought, you know what, I'm going to go in first thing and resign, and that's it. And it took me till about lunchtime to just gather the courage and go in and say goodbye. So it was, just a funny sort of overwhelming feeling at the time. But 28th of March was my last day. Wow.
So we're talking less than 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So I think it really would be valuable for our listeners, just to understand, what were some of the parameters you had to set yourself in terms of income, especially because a lot of people have the fear factor of, well, I'm giving up a safe salary and the income from business, it can be up and down, and you might have a good month, then you might not have a good month, and you could put yourself, in financial difficulty. So, were you earning enough revenue from the business that you felt comfortable that was going to maintain and grow if you had full time to dedicate on it?
I did at that point, yeah. So it didn't fully replace the income I had at the time, but I was happy enough to take the loss, if you will, make some adjustments on the spending, saying, okay, I'm going to be earning not as much money as I was before, but it's worth the time and effort that I can dedicate to the business and make it grow. And at that point, it had stabilized enough to a point that I felt, I don't think comfortable is the right word because I didn't feel comfortable, but I felt sort of satisfied enough to know that there was stable income coming in. I think the good thing about Amazon is you can see the revenue coming in. They pay you every 2 weeks. obviously monitored the sales. So I had been monitoring the sales for a couple of months before I made the decision, running the numbers and just making sure that I was happy with the decision, and to go ahead with it.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point you make there. I wasn't completely comfortable, but I don't think you should be. You need to be a little bit uncomfortable. That's what keeps you on edge. That's what keeps you pushing. And it's the comfort that keeps people in the job, right? It's that security and comfort where it's just okay enough, right? The money's okay. You know what you need to do at work, and that's what traps people, I think, for a long, long time, because it's just comfortable.
Absolutely, yeah. So the fact that I was feeling uncomfortable was actually a good sign for me to go, okay, I'm really pushing myself now. So Definitely. It's a sign. Let's go ahead and do it. Yeah.
And that's the only way to grow and expand, and really, really develop. So well done. So let's swiftly kind of move into part 2, which is where you are now. So as we said, it's less than 60 days of this new life as a business owner, entrepreneur, full-time. So can you share with us, Richiko, 3 of your biggest realizations that you've had since transitioning from being an employee to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, it's been quite the change indeed. It's been 6 weeks now on venturing it on my own. So a couple of realizations, I think, for me is really structuring your own time. You lose that framework of getting up in the morning, having an office to go to, and your day is pretty much well structured if you're in a day job. So you have to find your own structure. And I did some thinking about how to go about day to day, because, you don't want to fall into the trap of procrastinating or just sort of fluffing around all day and then not getting to do any of your business stuff. So I guess structuring the day in a way that works was one of the first realizations, that you had to do that all on your own. Speaking of on your own, the second realization that it is, we've talked about it before, it can be a bit lonely. So sort of making a decision to, keep attending networking events, sort of meeting up with people during the daytime, and, sort of not being stuck at home by yourself all day. Sometimes that happens, but, making a conscious effort to sort of make sure you still see people, and because it can be quite a lonely journey once you sort of stop being in that social environment of the office. Third realization, which is quite a positive one for me, was the change in headspace, if you will. Not having the day job to worry about in my head has freed up an enormous amount of space in my head to sort of think about things, some creative thinking, and you're completely free to dedicate your time and also your thinking to growing the business. So that's made a big difference, not having, the worries of another job lingering in the back of your head. The freedom and the time has been quite revelationary, I have to say.
Yeah, no, I think they're really, really good realizations. And I think it's something people don't prepare for, is just how different it will be when you wake up that first morning and suddenly you are the boss of you. You've got no deadlines, no one chasing you, no one kind of supporting you in the role. It's all on your shoulders, and you have to be really, really focused, and you really have to, as you say, manage your time efficiently. It's so easy to just think, just go and make another cup of tea, or just go put the washing in, or distract yourself from the stuff that you really kind of don't want to do in the business but has to get done. No boss cracking the whip there behind you. So yeah, it's a big shift, and one that can take a little while to get used to, can't it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's you're fully responsible for your own doing, so which is a good thing, but you also have to make sure that you're aware of it and you manage it properly, because as you mentioned, you're managing yourself now, so it's all on you.
That's it. So it's really important to have that entrepreneurial team around you, be part of, a group, a like-minded group, a mastermind, or something like, as you say, going out, networking regularly, and rubbing shoulders with other entrepreneurs as well to keep you motivated and inspired. Awesome. So what's the one thing that you really love about having your own business in these past 60 days?
The one thing is absolutely the freedom, the freedom of time, the freedom of creating my own day and creating my own business. It just gives you so much freedom and
you've got a choice. Yeah. Fantastic. Okay, so part 3, where you want to get to, Richiko. So did you set yourself any goals or targets when you decided to leave your job to start your own business? And have you reached them yet in this short space of time?
It's a good question. When you're first starting, it's quite difficult to set yourself some targets, especially when it comes to sales or sort of projecting forwards. You literally have no idea what to expect. So you do some forecasting and projections to the best of your ability. But you really just have to get started to sort of understand how the sales and how the goals will develop. So when I first started, my targets were actually quite modest because I didn't really know what to expect. But yeah, it's exceeded my expectations. So I've sort of adjusted them as I went along. In terms of bigger goals, where I am now and where I'd like to get to, obviously, is to build the business up to a point where it does fully replace previous income I had. Also, my husband still works, so the goal is for him to escape the rat race next. Just continue to work on those things, and we'll hopefully get there soon.
Yeah. And in terms of just bigger life goals, do you feel like, now you've got that freedom, that you've got even more greater potential to kind of do all the things in life that you really want to achieve?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just gone into the learning mode of, the new life ahead, away from the day job, and continuing my education on what it takes to be an entrepreneur. Go bigger and better from here.
Exactly. Well, when kind of one door closes with the employed life, you see that there's actually many, many other doors out there in the entrepreneurial world, and I know that you're exploring, many of those at the moment as well. So that's brilliant to see. Okay, so what's the one most important thing, Richiko, that you believe is going to help you to really grow and accelerate over the next 12 months?
I think the one important thing would be really focus. It's easy to sort of get distracted and get off track as ideas start to flow, and you may have several ideas about where you want to get to. I think the key thing will be to focus on a day-to-day basis, step by step, working on where you want to get to. Don't try and do too many things at the same time. It's easy to go, oh yeah, I'd like to do this, or I'd like to try that. But really try and stay focused on one particular path until you've reached the outcome that you want to achieve.
It's true. It's so difficult to do sometimes, but it honestly, for anyone listening, anyone listening, it truly is the secret. When you can nail down one thing and just keep it really simple and just focus on doing that one thing really well. And like Richiko, you see how quickly things can happen, literally in the space of 12 months. So rewinding you back, Richiko, 12 months ago, maybe you were on that commute into London every day, or, around the world when you were traveling as part of your job, and you were perhaps thinking about, the grass is greener on the other side. Anyone who's listening right now who's still in that position, maybe commuting to work each day, not really happy with their current life, and just really an itch to do something for themselves, what would you like to say to them as your last words of advice?
I would like to say, really go out and find a like-minded group of people to connect with, to network with. The biggest change is the change in mindset. So if you can surround yourself with people who want to achieve the same thing, connect with them and talk to them, that's really helpful on the path. Even if you're still not sure what you're trying to do, just getting out there and connect with people who are on the same path or wanting to achieve the same thing is really helpful.
Brilliant. Well, congratulations again, Richiko. It's been fantastic to see you progress, and I'm looking forward to supporting you on the next phase of your journey. So thanks again, and I'm sure that everyone listening would have taken a lot from your words today.
Thanks, Chris. It's been really exciting to be on the show, and just really excited about the opportunity. So
you're welcome.